the regular business meeting of the School Board of Alachua County, Tuesday, June 18th, 2019. Please join and stand and join in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. To members of the public joining us this evening, welcome. We're glad you're here. If you wish to address the board, we ask that you fill out a public comment form, which we have available in the back of the room. I will call on individuals in the order that I receive the sheets. If we are not able to get to your comments in the initial 15-minute public comment period, you may address the board at the second public comment meeting at the end of the meeting. If you wish to address the board on an item on the agenda, and that's both of the sheets I have so far would be, I believe, items on the agenda. Please also fill out the public comment form and cover the microphone when that item is reached. Please remember that each individual has 3 minutes to address the board. Please focus on issue and input while avoiding personal attacks. Thank you. For tonight's agenda, we have 2 changes as of now. Action item 6 is going to become, I'm sorry, my bad. Consent agenda item 6 will become action item 4. And consent item 11 will become action item 5. Okay, so 6 becomes 4 and 11 becomes 5. With those changes, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Bedili, seconded by Ms. Certain. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Do I have a motion to approve the policy workshop minutes from May 7th, 2019?
So, second.
Motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Roy. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the budget workshop, May 21st, 2019?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Certain, seconded by Ms. Roy, and let me call on Dr. Paulson for comment, please.
Yes, where it says on the first page, athletic program funding, noted the importance of graduation rates. Actually, what the main part was, it said proposed a 30% increase to each school's funding for athletics.
Okay,
Rosa back there.
okay,
Say it again, I'm sorry, Rosa just back there, so.
Athletic program funding, the main part of that was, we were going to recommend a 30% increase for athletic funding for each school.
that was Dr. Paulson's suggestion.
Okay.
Okay, do I have a motion to accept the amendment?
So moved.
Second, by anyone?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. McNeely. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Amendment passes 5-0. Now we're going to vote on the minutes as amended. And we already have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Yes, Doctor, I'm sorry.
So this is just a proposal, or is this just a done deal that the athletic works?
Oh, it was a suggestion by Dr. Paulson. Now okay.
Thank you.
Sure. You're welcome. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for the school board meeting for June 4th, 2019?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Surton, seconded by Ms. Roy. Any discussion? Dr. Paulson?
All right. If you look at page 4 of this, 1, 2, it says Dr. Paulson requested the district advisory council set up bylaws to meet at least 3 times a year or more, possibly September, January, May. In addition, we'd like to see the ACC PTA, it says choose a member. No, to be ACC PTA, to be an alternative to the SACs for the principals to fill their seat on the DAC. It would be.
Oh, okay.
In other words, you'll have both. You'll have the SAC and the acceptor to choose from.
Okay, does everybody, anybody have any questions on for Dr. Paulson on that? Okay, I'm glad you made that clarification.
I have a question.
Yes.
Dr. Paulson, are you saying that it said in addition, he would like to see an ACPTA choose a member to sit on the DAC? So
No, the principal can go to the, can have the choice between the SAC and that. When we made the district advisory council, we didn't have a county PTA. Now we do. And we think they're a very good resource, and it gives our principal another resource to go to fill that position.
And I think it might help a great deal on attendance.
Yes, I do too.
So I appreciate that. Okay, do I have a motion to accept Dr. Paulson's amendment to the minutes?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. McNeely. Any discussion on the amendment? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Amendment passes 5-0. Now we're going to vote on the motion as amended. Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, now we have board members, superintendent announcements. Dr. Paulson.
Yeah, I want to have a little longer, so shut me up if you want to, okay?
Okay.
All right. First of all, I went down to, on Wednesday to the legislative meeting in Tampa, and I want to report back. I was concerned about some things. And my concerns, one, they want to change the legislative committee with every district. Right now, every district has a member and an alternate. They wanted to change this to an advocacy. It's going to be done maybe in November. But, and then they switch with the legislative committee. They want to streamline the legislative committee. I have my concerns about this for a variety of reasons. One is that it might give districts less input. I brought that up. And I think it's important that everybody has the input. Let me give you 2 examples why. In 2012, when we wanted to get the 2 mill back, because we knew if we didn't, we'd end up in dire straits as far as facilities. And it was really a battle, and I brought it up we met in Orlando at the school board building in Orlando, and we barely got it through, and then coming to the membership, it only passed by 5 votes, but it passed. And I think that was an important thing for FSBA to make that a legislative priority. But if somebody like me wasn't on there and wasn't able to fight, that they wanted to streamline and have less people in there, it just bothered me, and I'll tell you why it's bothered me even more, that this could have been something that was just pushed through because they don't want to bother with it. So that's one reason. Then, if you remember, we met here a few years ago in our boardroom instead of going to Tampa. And the legislative committee met, and we had the 2 mil, and I said, why don't we put the required local effort in there with it? Because I think required local effort, what they're doing to that is has the biggest chance of destroying public education of anything. And I couldn't get it through, and Jane Goodwin, both times, and she's the chairman, she agreed with me, but we couldn't get it through. But at least we could get it on the discussion. And finally, they brought it through. Now, this year, you know, I almost got the feeling they didn't want to do it again. So that's why I think this is important that we really, I think it's going to be dangerous. And it's, I just wanted to bring it back to you guys. And, you know, if, I'm going to keep making noise about it because I think it's important. Then we got discussing about it, and they were going over things. What concerns me, and I don't know how to say this, I'm concerned with the lobbyists we have for Florida School Board Association.
The what?
Lobbyists.
Oh,
Because they told us that we shouldn't, we have to get along with these legislators, which is fine, you know. But we also, they made statements like, don't ask for raises, because raises, they don't want to give raises. They want to give, you know, bonuses, or maybe raises if, the way, you know, performance pay. And that, you know, that concerned me. And, you know, my question is this. We all went through the same recession, right? When the recession started, the state of Florida was ranked 31st. Now the state of Florida is ranked 43rd. You trying to tell me all the other states had a different recession? And you're telling me these people want to pay our employees? That's scary. So this is, and I heard this from our legislators. Then the one lobbyist comes up and starts saying, this is where I worked for Jeb Bush. Right when I heard that, I'm sorry. That was a red flag for me. And then she worked for Rick Scott. Now, these people are not friendly to public education. So this is the concerns I have about our lobbyists. And then I brought up that, about restoring, because I remember years ago, about Keith, well, I'll go Keith Perry. I'm going to talk about him later, so I'll leave it out right now. But these things concern me. But I did bring up about the required local effort, again. And that lobbyist goes, they see it as increasing taxes. And I turned around, I said, well, increasing taxes, I said, this is local taxes that we have. And we give us more money. They talked about base student allocation, because we were trying, excuse me, it's a base student allocation I want to tie it to when I was here. And the base student allocation was something we all talked about until Jeb Bush changed the conversation to the Florida, the FEFP, because that way they could use money from trust funds and from the retirement system, et cetera. So this, I've been in this battle over 20 years. I'm seeing this right now getting to a point of really, when I see our organization have lobbyists that work for Jeb Bush and Rick Scott, I'm nervous. So I want to bring this back to you because this is really scary. And I said, you know, excuse me, I might get a little, I said, where are all our Republican lobbyists that believed in local control? I'm a little harsh, but I said, do they all die? Because I wonder what's going on that we can't even raise our own taxes and decide on ourselves. So anyway, this is what happened in that meeting. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that we belong to an organization, which I like the organization, an organization that is not, I don't know, are they afraid of these people or what? But I'm glad I'm on the committee because I think I need to be there. And I said to them, you know, if you don't want to send me in to see a legislature, I can understand that. Because I'm going to tell them the truth. But if you want to send somebody else, but while we're in that legislative meeting, we need to hammer out these details. Because we're talking about the survival of public education. So that's my, I had an interesting 2 hours that Wednesday. I'm glad I went. I'm glad I go to all those legislative meetings. I went last month to Lake City. And so anyway, that's what happened in that meeting. So that, I'm done with that right now. And, oh, I got another one. Okay, then I saw I saw some interesting articles in Sunday's paper. Did everybody see that? Mr. Charbonnet had an article I thought was tremendous. But I thought it was in response to people thinking we manipulate our test score, our graduation scores, which I think is the furthest thing from the truth. And I think that he made a very good analogy in there, Mrs. Clark, I think you can tell me, is that we have 38 less students, total number of seniors graduating since 2014. And I'm reading it from the page. In 2018, in fact, nearly 300 more students graduated in 2018 than 2014, even though the total number of seniors dropped by 38. Now, simply put, we had fewer seniors, but a lot more graduates. These gains occurred despite ever tougher graduation standards. It is not easy to earn a high school diploma in Florida. Some of our people need to understand. We used to have 7-period days. We used to have summer school. Remember that? We don't have those things anymore. And we're still graduating people. So when we talk about manipulating this graduation rates, I take offense to that. So I'm glad that was written. Then, my old buddy, Senator Perry, who was one of my students, wrote a letter and criticized one of the best advocates we have in public education, Dr. Sue Legg. And, you didn't see that? Oh, here, I got a copy of it, I'll give it to you. It's unbelievable. But he said that, he went through some things he said. Let me see if I can get my notes exactly right. I'm sorry, Mr. Hyatt, I generally don't do this, but I just feel called to do this tonight. All right. Keith Perry saying, I'll give you an example of what I think about. He said that people need to know what they're talking about. I'll give you an example. Last year when we were in the election, I was out at Newberry, and Keith Perry's up there. I had already talked, and he's up there telling people we get $10,000 per student. You hear that, Superintendent? So if you got that, we need to find it, right? Because we don't get that. So I'm listening to him going, I can't believe, these people are eating it up, the audience. So he said, we also have the tax credit scholarships. Now, there's more this year than there was, but back before this year, about 80% of what we got, over $7,000 was spent on tax credit scholarships. So our senator says, of course, we cost us $5,800. But if he had over $10,000, what's 80% of $10,000? $8,000, isn't it? This is our senator that's criticizing somebody. And then it's $5,800. So I didn't say anything. I wanted to say something. I said, I'm not going to embarrass the guy in front of everybody. I got him afterwards. I said, Keith, you don't get $10,000. Remember you said it was $5,800. I said, let's just round it off to $7,000 and $10,000. $10,000 is $8,000. $7,000 is $5,600, which is closer to $58,000. I said, do you get it? Oh, I didn't know. I didn't understand. I said, well, you just told a couple hundred people that we got all this money. And yet he criticized. You see what I'm getting about criticizing Sue Legg. A little bit more, I'll be done in a second. This is while he goes. He said I did. In his thing, in the newspaper, he talks about $200, $300 more than what we got. He said we got $783, $243 per student. He neglected to say that we got money that was outside the FEFP that they put in the FEFP, so we got $150 a student. But he's criticizing Sue Legg. He talked about the Family Empowerment Scholarship Program to allow low-income and middle-class families. He neglected to say it's unconstitutional right now, and they're spending $250,000 to defend this because they know the lawsuit's coming. He also says that if it's unfortunate people that criticize our education system haven't had time to do their homework. Well, Keith, it's unfortunate you haven't taken time to do your homework. And you need to have a tutor with you when you do it. So that's what I'm talking about right now. One other thing, and I'll stop, and this is the only time I'll do this probably all year. Talking about manipulating scores, and I'm not saying this is manipulating, because that's rude of me to say that. But I wrote this, so looking more than just a gap, talking about our gap we have with our students, right? And I did this a couple of years ago, and you look at this, I just put it around looking at people in our area. And I heard somebody say, well, we don't rate well with other people in a state, you know, similar to our size. Well, we rate good with Marion County, we're better than St. Pete, Pinellas County, we're better than out in Pensacola. So that's not right either. But you know something, if you look at this, I can compare us to just people around us. And our whites, we have a gap of 44. Yes, we have the biggest gap. But you know something? The gap's not the only thing we need to look at. And I'm only going to read this, and I hope our board members read it too, because you can see we have a gap not only with our African, we're not the lowest. We get the impression when you talk about the gap that we do the worst job in the state with our African American students. In 15, 16, we weren't even in the lowest quartile. We weren't even in the lowest quartile. Now, do we need to improve? Yeah, we need to improve, but we need to look at everything. Let's look at one example when I looked at this, why I profess you need to look further than just the gap. We will use the ELE scores to look at the gap and how the scores compare between districts for white students and African American. And I'll go I'm not going to name it, one of our local districts that touches us had a score of 45 for their white and 20 for the African American students. And then another one, a bigger one, had 51 for their white students and 27. Alachua County was 71 and 27. Now our gap's 44. And the gap at one of those is 25, and the gap at the other one is 27. Where would you rather have your kids, here or there? Considering our African Americans have higher scores than they do. Our African Americans are higher than these people we give the impression we're doing a worse job. And then our whites are just that much higher. Now, you say, well, we can't just look at poverty. Well, you know something, we got white scores for Alachua was 71 in ELA in this time, and in one of our locals, 43. These are both whites. That's not race there. Sounds to me that's when you have poverty or the type of atmosphere they're brought up in. Now, let me just stop this. I'm certainly not trying to say the gap between groups should be ignored, especially the racial gap. On the contrary, I'm saying look at the statistics in their totality. This is where, we claim other people maneuver the statistics, but we don't. You don't get a true picture by just picking out one way to interpret the stats to benefit a certain agenda. If we look at the statistics in their totality and also be aware of factors that might affect these statistics, we can devise a plan and set reasonable goals to help all our students. All our students. Let's look statewide, then we went on that. Again, we're in the 25. Now, do we need to raise the scores of our African American students? Yes. Do we need to be truthful with the public about what's going on? Yes. Are we truthful with the public? No. I've been waiting a long time. This just galls me. And you know something? You can sit there, you want to argue with me? Remember, I'll do my homework before you ever have that argument with me. I'm doing my homework now. I want to raise the scores of all our students. I'm going to say it again. I'm certainly not trying to say the gap between groups should be ignored. What I'm saying is tell the whole facts and nothing but the facts. So, and you've got this, and I think we should look at it every year. When we look at it again, we might be doing worse now. But you know something, what happens if we had 95 for our white scores, and we had a 44 gap and 52 for our African American? Nobody else in the state would even be close to that 52. Do we need to still get our African American scores up? Of course we do. Do we need the newspaper to say we have the biggest gap in the state and that's all they ever said? Because people get the impression then that we're not doing anything at all compared to other places in the state, when we had 30 districts lower than us in our African-American scores. So, get mad at me, do what you want, but you know something? Facts don't lie. Facts don't lie. Thank you.
And thank you, Dr. Paulson. Ms. Surden?
I'm coming back with you,
She hasn't ever lied on.
Oh, well,
I can speak to,
That's
Well-
okay, I thought your light was on before me.
I'll,
That's
Yes.
okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I also went to FSBA Summer Conference this past week, and it was quite informative. I attended the session that Dr. Paulson just expounded upon, and I heard some of what he said. I heard some of those things. I think I received some of it a little bit different from the way that Dr. Paulson received it. And I do agree that the Republican legislature that we have in place now is indeed starving and shortchanging public education. But I got the fact that how I heard, I can't even remember what the lobbyist's name was, what her name was, is that she was saying we, as a district statewide, should try to put guardrails on our asks so that we can kind of guide the legislature. We won't get what we want. We got to realize who we're working with and what we have up there. And if we continue to ask for things that they haven't addressed, our requests will be ignored. But if we possibly phrase our requests a little bit differently and look at the agenda that they have in place and where they're going, and we try to put guardrails up on our request, that maybe we can guide the Republican legislature to get them to kind of be in the lane where we want them to be. They're not there yet, but maybe we can get them in that direction. That's kind of how I heard it, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong, that's just what I heard. I also had the pleasure of sitting in a session on the upcoming 2020 census. We've all heard about the census. I've been through a few myself, but the young lady who did the presentation was a dynamic speaker. She brought forth some facts that really hit home with me and called upon local school districts to take an active part in the census in our community as far as trying to get the word out and making the citizens of our own community know the importance of completing the form and sending it back. There is this issue with the citizenship question on there that is being litigated right now, but she really tried to help us focus on not getting stuck on that one question, the citizenship question, but to make sure that every household that gets the form completes the form completely with every person that lives in the household, especially children 0 to 4, because she worked on the 2010 census, and what she figured for Florida, down in their particular area, there were like so many millions of kids that were not counted, that were undercounted, and she said something that reiterated something I heard on a census program on NPR, that the children that were 0 to 4 in 2010 are now entering high school or almost to graduate, depending on where they were at that point. They're like probably 9th grade or so. And she says when you think back on it, their entire educational career has been underfunded by the federal government because the number of students, children that age group were undercounted. And so Florida has gotten less money than what they normally would have, that they would have gotten if everyone had been enumerated or counted. So she kind of implored us and gave some hints on us helping the federal government that will have a local agency or someone working in our area, and kind of partnering with the city and the county, because CDBG money is apportioned on that. It's congressional seats are apportioned on that. Federal dollars for roads and things of that nature. So it's a lot of things that are riding on the 2020 census that will have a 10-year impact. So that was one thing, that was a really good session that I thought. And the legislative review session that reviewed the bills that came out of this last session here was a very good session. And I have the booklet there that if you didn't attend, but they said the link for the booklet that they gave out in that session is online, so if anyone did not attend, you can download the booklet and read
Ms.
through
Surden,
that.
if I could interrupt you, we have a time certain public hearing, and if you need to continue after the public hearing, it's your floor. So let me recognize Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, we are going to open the public hearing on two separate issues. The first is for the update to school board policies, including the 2019-20 Codes of Student Conduct for both elementary and secondary, the 2019-20 Student Progression Plan, and the proposed adoption, amendment, and repeal to various policies. And then after we finish that, there's the instructional materials adoption for the Pearson African American Odyssey curriculum. I'm going to start, though, with the policies, and before I see if there's any public commentary, I did have 3 notes I wanted to bring to the board for updates that you'll see at the second reading. In the student progression plan, there's 3 different places where grades are referenced. We're going to add a statement that grades will be rounded to the nearest whole number, just as an explanation of how, because we just use the whole numbers, we don't use decimals. The code of conduct, if you remember at the last meeting, we did the resolution on school safety and mentioning Fortify Florida. We're going to insert the Fortify Florida link into the whom to contact section of the codes of conduct. And then finally, on policy 5500, my office made a mistake when we brought this at first reading. You just amended that policy on May 7th to add the if you see something, say something language to the policy. And when we brought it to you on first reading, we were using the old version. So at second reading, it will be correct with the updates you just approved May 7th and the new language for tonight, which is just adopting the code of conduct into the policy. So with that, I don't know if there's any members of the public here to speak.
We have one form turned in, no, I guess that's for the student progression plan, that's Ms. McNeil. Ms. McNeil, if you'll pull the mic, thank you so much.
Yes, Judy De Jesus McNeil. Good evening, board members and Superintendent Clark. At the recent school board review, I was asked the following questions. How old are your children? How many years have you lived in Gainesville?
If I could
And
ask you,
I'm
excuse
sorry.
me, we're just dealing with the topics
Yes.
on the actual public hearing, so this is progression plans.
Yes,
Are
it
you
is.
getting to there?
Yes, it is.
And that's, so, okay,
Okay, so I have my time back.
sure.
Okay, so how many years have you lived in Gainesville? And a political question. These questions are illegal and could make the school board open to discrimination lawsuits. I do not know if the other applicants were given the same questions, but if they were, it was unethical. This evening, in the consent agenda, the 2019-2020 Student Progress Plan, page 9, section S, states skills required for graduation shall include instruction on developing leadership skills, organization skills, research skills, creating a resume, developing and practicing the skills necessary for employment interviews, conflict resolution, workplace ethics, and workplace law. Based on my experience, the school board should give a refresher course to their senior administrators on ethical interview practices. These should not include asking questions or actions related to age, race, ethnicity, color, gender or sex, country of national origin or birthplace.
Ms. McNeil, I
Religion.
have to interrupt again.
Okay.
Because this has nothing to do with the student progression plan. And
I'm
so,
sorry, I looked at the agenda, and it is part of the
well,
student progress
I'm-
plan.
I'm sorry as well. If you'd like to discuss this at the appropriate time, but we're having a public hearing right now on a specific topic.
Student progress plan, which is on the consent
It has
agenda.
nothing to do with interviews.
I'm sorry, sir, but is there another time when I can
Yeah,
address this?
at the appropriate time in the meeting.
This was the appropriate time.
Oh,
I will
well,
review
you
later.
may sit down. Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I will return.
Any further public comment on, that's actually on student progression plans? Okay. Mr. Moore, are you?
the public opportunity on the other topic for the public hearing, the instructional materials adoption, just to keep them separate. If there's anyone here that would like to address that, now is the time to do so.
Okay, do we have any questions on either topic by board members or comments? I know we have lights on for other things, but just sort of give me a high sign here if you need to do that. If not,
So tonight's, just to clarify, there's no adoption.
Yeah, well,
Tonight,
there's no
this is just
adoption.
the chance for a public to speak.
Right,
The
okay.
curriculum will come back before the board for adoption later, and the second reading of the policies in the code and the student progression plan will also be back July 23rd, I think is the next meeting. So,
right. Ms. Surden?
I looked in the packet, there was just one sheet in the packet, so I was wondering if, is it Ms. Monahan? If you could email me something on the books that were there, and I'll just read over it before the next meeting, but there was only one sheet there, so there was nothing really to review, just the book title, so.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. That completes our public hearing. We resume the regular school board business meeting. Ms. Surden, you have the floor, and did you have anything else you wanted to conclude with?
I did have something else, yes. And the other session that I would like to mention, and I would probably, I've asked Collier County to share some information on their Collier County Strong, I think is what they call it, something along that nature. It's a partnership they have between the district, their education foundation, and their chamber in creating additional or more opportunities for apprenticeships and mentorships in careers for their students. And that's something that I've asked the presenter to share the slide deck with us if she would. And a study that you have partnered with them on early learning and its correlation, early literacy, I think K through 2, with some other things there. So I would like to share that. And I'd like to make a few comments just based on something that was just shared just earlier. Student achievement is really important, and it's the business of the school district. When many of you all probably, you know my story and why I decided to run for office. There were a lot of reasons, but it was mainly surrounding student achievement. And what concerns me is when an entire subgroup of students is not faring well, it should give pause to everyone. It should give pause to the school board members, the superintendent, her administrative staff, teachers, parents, and the community. In 2016, actually that was kind of the culmination of several events, but there were a group of citizens in this county that joined together, and we studied and researched the disparities in our district. Not to bash the district, I'm a product of Alachua County School District. Proud of it, as did my kids come up through the district, as well as my husband. But in looking at performance data that's reported to the state, because we didn't get this in the Gainesville Sun. I heard it in this boardroom right here by Dr. Breanna Kennedy Lewis she would drop things when she had 3 minutes at the mic. And I had questions because what she was saying in this boardroom didn't line up with what I read in the newspaper. So a group of citizens got together and we started looking at the data ourselves. The narrative that we read in the Gainesville Sun was not what we discovered. When we looked at data, it was really disturbing. On every single metric that we looked at, academic performance from FCAT, academic performance from the Florida Student Assessment, or FSA, reading and math, advanced placement and advanced coursework, or placement of African American students, Hispanic students, white students, and advanced coursework, magnet enrollment, CTE, discipline numbers. It didn't matter what metric we looked at, African American students fared worse. I'm talking like 23 to 30% proficiency. So to me, if you get 100 students and only 23 of them are doing well, that should give everybody pause. Now, when it was happening and my children were in the district, I didn't know because I thought it was 1 or 2 children being retained from the FCAT. And then when they moved to FSA, I thought it was 1 or 2. But when we looked at the data and disaggregated it, we saw that it was almost a whole subgroup wasn't faring well in the district. Now, I'm proud to say the white students in Alachua County do better than white students all over the state of Florida. They perform, Alachua County students, white students outperform white students in the state of Florida. And on the same token, African-American students perform poorly than African-American students in almost every other county in the state of Florida. That should alarm everybody. It alarmed me. It alarmed me, and it alarmed people when we went in the community, because the community didn't know. They didn't know this. So I think it's, you know, it's more, a child is more than a test score, but the test score is what we have. That's the diagnostic that we have for our district. We don't like what the Republican legislature has done. No, we don't like it, but that's the diagnostic that we have right now. I don't like going getting my blood taken to check for iron and to do the lab work. But that's what they have to do to me when we go to get checked. So that's what we have right here. And I think as a district and as a public, we have a huge budget. It's not enough, but what we have, the money we have, we need to deploy it and spend it well so that every student does well. I don't want white students to do worse. I want black students to do better. I want Hispanic students to do better. I want the students with special needs to do better. I want this system to work for everybody. And I think we all have a collective responsibility as elected officials, as employees. I told Superintendent Clark, your job is because of the students in Alachua County. And you have to serve those students that are difficult, they're hard to teach. We have to serve those. Every single person from top to bottom. And the day that we feel that those children are in imposition and they're too much to deal with, we might need to look at getting a different job. It is because of those students who are poor performing and folks that throw rocks at and speak negatively of that a lot of people in this district make money. You're making money off the back of those students, and then you act like you don't want to deal with them. So I get really passionate about that, and I'm not trying to manipulate numbers, but when we have formulas, that graduation rate, the state of Florida allows us to do things to manipulate it. I said it. I did. I let the Sun quoted me. She misquoted me, but I did tell her that number is subject to manipulation, and it is. I hold to that wholeheartedly. There are alternate assessments. Yeah, the graduation rate increased, but 2 years ago, only 30% or so, maximum 30% of the black students were proficient. So yeah, they got a standard diploma, but they can't read and comprehend on a college level to have any success if they go to Santa Fe. They're going to be taking remedial classes, most likely getting loans, getting frustrated, and dropping out the system. So just to get them through the system and pass off the headache to someone else, that's not good enough to me. That's not what I want my legacy to be as a board member. I'm not an educator, but I'm a parent, and I'm judging myself as a parent on my children doing better than what I did. And as an elected official, I'm judging myself on how well and how hard I can advocate that this system improves to serve the least of them. We're only going to be as strong as the least of them. And these students that are poorly performing, they impact our community on every strata. I'm talking about this here census data. They impact that too, because the third grade reading scores, they claim they stop projecting prison beds on it, but that is still the metric for if a child is going to end up in the criminal justice system. So if we're tired of the sheriff saying she needs more money to do X, Y, and Z, if we're tired of that, let's educate the students so they can do well and they can graduate from our system and be productive citizens, because believe it or not, we need this next generation to come up and work to take care of all of us and to pay into the systems that we also benefit and we're looking forward to benefiting from when we stop working. We need these students to come up, and that's going to, if everyone is working and gainfully employed and contributing to society, we're going to have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful community, and it'll work for everybody. I don't want the community to work for just one group of people. I want it to work for everyone. And I could sit up here and say, well, I made it and I got mine and I'm okay with it, but that doesn't work for me. I want everybody, whether they look like me or not, I want them to have a fighting chance, and I want the system to work for them. And I promise you, I may go down, it may be 4-1 votes all night, but if I feel I'm right and I'm going to stand on it, I'm going to stand on it, I'm going to say that. So while we may preach our students, the high-achieving students do well, and that's what we read in the Gainesville Sun, there still has to be a voice crying out in the wilderness for the student who's not doing well, because if somebody doesn't speak up for them, nobody will. Thank you.
Dr. McNeely.
Wow. I want to address, because I did not attend the FSBA, I did something different this year. But I would like to address Dr. Paulson's information that he spoke about at the end about student performance. I have not had a chance to analyze everything that Dr. Paulson has written for his colleagues, but I will certainly do that this evening. I want to speak from the standpoint of being an administrator in a low-performing school. One of my colleagues sits on this dais who happened to be there at the same time I was. And I know how difficult it is to get academic performance and achievement up. However, I don't like it any more than anyone else up here to hear commentators or the media state that we are the lowest in the district. It hurts my heart. And I know that the teachers have a lot on them in the schools. The administrators have a lot on them in the schools. They have so much to do. We should not be happy. I don't want to be redundant with what Board Member Surton has said, but we should not be happy, and I think Dr. Paulson said that as well, that he's not thrilled with the gap. But he was trying to point out that the gap in our surrounding counties might be a little bit comparable to where we are as well. Well, I'm competitive, have always been competitive. And because of that, it matters not what Marion or Columbia, or Levy, or Gilchrist have done. I'm looking at what have we done. We are in the backyard of the University of Florida and Santa Fe Community College. And I know that they are willing, and they have shown willingness, that they will do all in their power to help this superintendent, these 5 board members, all 29,000 plus students, and I don't have the number of figure for staff. We're all in this together. And I wish that Dr. Paulson would say at the end of this meeting that we should have a workshop on this where we can even expound even more so and get our ideas out and let citizens speak as well and not stifle the citizens or other people who from the public would like to share their comments. I know that we in Alachua County cannot be satisfied with what we have currently. It is not saying, and I'm not saying that the staffs, the superintendent, and all involved from the curriculum, and I don't mean to leave Mrs. Jones out at all, but we have many folk who come to this building every day trying to do their very best and imparting the knowledge to the instructional staff, the non-instructional staff, and to our students. However, we've not reached the pinnacle. And I will speak later on that when we get into action item, I think it's 5. We cannot sit back and glow about where we are. We have too much riding on this. And yes, the Educational Task Force did bring many of this information on student achievement and performance to us and the public. But more of that should be done. I support teachers, non-instructional staff totally when it comes to what they are up against. But it's not okay to say that we can be relaxed because several other districts might have shown the same impact that we're showing. I'm just sorry. So that's what I wanted to say about our student performance and achievement. We have been in constant communication with the accountability department in this district, and there are some reasons to believe that some things could have been manipulated. I've spoken that language to the superintendent. We've had good conferences about that. Just take a closer look, like Dr. Paulson has done his homework, and I applaud him for bringing this to the public. But it needs to be in a workshop so that Mrs. Roy, Mr. Hyatt, Ms. Certain, Dr. Paulson, and Lee McNeely can really get out the nitty-gritty on what needs to be said about what has happened, what hasn't happened, and where we should be going. I hope the public who's listening at home, you understand what I'm speaking about. And whenever we have a workshop, this room, conference room E, conference room D, wherever we need to put extra seats and TVs, that people will show up and say, and the acceptor PTA will say and agree with us that yes, we have a good school system, but we are lacking. We have disparities still, and many of the things that we are trying to close, we haven't gotten there as of yet. I will say much more when we get to action item number 5.
Let's go to Ms. Roy next. Ms. Roy.
Thank you, thank you. Well, a few things. Mrs. Certain spoke very passionately about her belief that we need to do something about our lowest performing students, particularly African American. And I want to say that we all share that passion. We all do. Were she here longer, I think she would see that, and through our commitment to the programs that help these children and have for years. I've been on the board for 15 years, and we have always, allocated resources appropriately to help kids. Now, I will say that we can't help everyone if they don't come to school. That's one thing. And we have extreme cases of schools that have high absenteeism. It's not unique to Alachua County. One thing she said really puzzled me. She said something about we throw stones at some children and, denigrate them. I don't ever see that, and that's not true. It is just not true. We know that our jobs depend on serving all the students of Alachua County, and we do it to the best of our ability. And to say that we throw stones or denigrate some students is just not true. I appreciate the passion. I feel the same, and so does everyone else on this dais. Dr. Paulson did not say that we can relax with the achievement gap. He did not say it. In fact, he said repeatedly over and over and over again that he did not mean that we could relax, is what Dr. McNeely said, or brag about the excellence of our district. We have a right to be proud of some of the students and to point that out when they achieve. But nobody has ever said that we didn't need to work with the students that aren't achieving. And all Dr. Paulson said, there's 30 districts that are lower than Alachua County. Okay, but that doesn't mean that it's always presented to the public. We're the worst in the state, the worst in the state, the worst in the state. Yes, we have the worst gap, but that's not the whole story. There's other things that we are not the worst in, and so that's all he was saying. About the census, Ms. Certain talked about this, and I wanted just to add to what she said. We do have the census coming up, and it is highly, highly political in that if some citizens don't answer the census, we could lose a lot of money for children and for social services, for a whole raft load of things. But the citizenship question on the census needs to be talked about. I think Mrs. Certain said to me before the meeting, we were talking about it, and she said, well, people can choose not to answer that question on the census. Well, what do you think that's going to tell the government? It's it's going to tell them that they're afraid to answer it, or, it just might be a signal. And people who, even people who are documented, immigrants who are documented, are afraid sometimes to answer the question because they don't want to bring attention to them. So I think, the lady that gave the program was Cuban, I think you said. And, but everybody needs to be aware of the value of that case that's being litigated right now, because if it goes against the forces that say it is not appropriate for the census, then we are big losers. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Dr. Paulson, I know you wanted to respond. I'm going to ask if you would please hold that to the end.
Well, I think there's one thing I need to respond to.
Well,
And just in one
okay,
sentence.
okay.
Dr. Neely, I gave you this 3 years ago.
It doesn't matter.
Wait, no, wait, let me finish. I gave you 3 years ago. Excuse me, I'm talking.
Okay.
I know, Chairman, am I going to be able to
I-
comment afterwards?
Let me.
I just
ask-
wanna know.
Let me ask both of you to limit it to 1 minute. I'm not timing
Sure.
it, but I'm asking for both of you. Is that okay? Can we do that?
In other words, I gave you this 3 years ago. There's only one new member. I brought it in again because I thought it was time to look at it then. So you've had 3 years to look at this. The other thing is, what you said that we're the lowest in the state. We're not. All I want us to be able to sit down, have civil conversations to get these students better, but be truthful. I can't take it anymore coming in here and not hearing the truth. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Paulson. Dr. McNeely.
I will request a workshop, and that would end that. And then I would like to respond to Mrs. Roy. Mrs. Roy, I was not saying that Dr. Paulson said we need to sit back and relax. I said we should not sit back and relax, not that Dr. Paulson said it.
I thought that was it.
Okay?
Thank you. Well,
Did you hear me say about the workshop?
yes,
The
ma'am.
chairperson, okay.
Now, sometimes as chair, you have to make some decisions, and I just let this go because things needed to be said. And so we did that, and certainly we didn't talk about the carnivals we attended or the concerts we attended or the plays today, but these are all things that needed to be said. And we're not, so we're going to end this portion. I just, for my hopefully brief comment. I taught for 38 years. Very happy that one of my students is here in the audience today. Very proud of her. But I was a high school band director for 23 years. Then I taught at the highest poverty school in Alachua County for 15 years. And nobody made me stay there. I was very appreciative to be hired, but it was a very special 15 years. I taught for 38 years. I had one bad year. I guarantee you the bad year was never at that school. It wasn't even in this county. But one thing I learned when I came on the board is that this district is full of people that work every single day to make things better for all children, and especially for those who need extra attention and extra help. That's just the way it's done here. We have a superintendent that is the first superintendent to present an equity plan. We have a board and we have a district that is committed to doing everything we can. We have some folks in Tallahassee, and no, we have to do what we're going to do regardless of Tallahassee and Washington. but it doesn't help us a great deal to squabble about things that I really see as, it's not about having a difference of opinion, it's that we all should be pushing toward what's best for kids. And I think what everybody on this dais has said, that's what everybody wants to do. So that being recognized, we need to jump over a little bit the other things and make sure that we're working, that we're headed to what's best for kids. I'm proud of the efforts being made, and we're going to keep moving forward. You know, I don't really have much more on that. So we have, and we'll have a chance for any board member to speak at the end of the meeting. I will say I was also at the workshop on the census, and I think it would be, I certainly, I know Ms. Cert would like to do this. I mean, we haven't talked about this, but I think both of us, it would be good if we talk to the superintendent and talk to whoever is going to be heading that effort up in this district, because that is very important. Okay. Now, moving ahead to citizen input. And I wanted to ask Mr. Shepherd, where's Mr. Shepherd? Okay. Does this have, is this specifically for the reorganization, the reclassification plan, or, okay, you're recognized for 3 minutes then.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'm Attorney Ed Shepherd. I'm here presenting you with a letter of intent for a class action lawsuit on behalf of the Department of Transportation drivers. Also in this letter, you will find, if I can bring it up, also in this letter, you will find that the members, about 60% of your Department of Transportation employees are leaving the current union and forming their own. There has been claims of sexual harassment from your Director of Transportation.
Okay, that, I find that,
Allow me to finish.
we're not going to have personal attacks here.
This is not a personal attack.
Well,
If I bring anything, I bring proof. So allow me to finish. I'm a trial attorney. I give you respect. You give me
well,
respect.
I'm the chairman of the board.
I reached out.
I'm the chairman of the board, so let's not
Okay, and I'm also a former
confuse
state attorney
roles.
general, deputy attorney general for the state of Florida, so you will allow me to finish.
Excuse me.
I have reached out
I-
to your staff attorney.
I need
I reached
you,
out to your
I need
superintendent.
you
Neither
to
one
not,
have responded back to me.
you're not in control of this meeting, sir.
Here you are.
You may, you give it to Mr. Delaney, our attorney. Okay. Now, Ms. McNeil, did you want to continue? Did you want to try this again? This would be the time to do it. This is for something that's not on the agenda.
Okay, well, good evening.
Good evening
Board
again.
members. My name's Judy De Jesus McNeil. So at a recent school board job interview, I was asked the following questions. How old are your children? How many years have you lived in Gainesville? And a political question. These questions are illegal and could make the school board open to a discrimination lawsuit. I do not know if other applicants were given the same questions, but if they were, it was unethical. This evening, in the consent agenda, from my understanding, the 2019-2020 Student Progress Plan, page 9, section S, states, skills required for graduation shall include instructions for developing leadership skills, organizational skills, research skills, creating a resume, developing and practicing the skills necessary for employment interviews, conflict resolution, workplace ethics, and workplace law. Based on my experience, the school board should give a refresher course to senior administrators on ethical interview practices, and these should not include questions or actions related to age, race, sex, ethnicity, country of national origin or birthplace, religion, disability, marital family status or pregnancy, retaliation, genetic information, or sexual harassment. I believe political questions are inappropriate for a job interview and could exclude a certain party-affiliated applicants. I appeal to the board for employment. Since the recent interview process was unreasonable and unjust. Alachua County is growing, and it attracts diverse people for employment. But if unethical practices hinder an inclusive and richer workforce, what's the point of applying? Please have senior administrators exemplify what they expect graduating students to practice and experience in the workplace. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Purvis, I've got Ms. McNeil's contact information. If I could ask you maybe to give her a call, and since this seems to be in your area, and you might want to discuss that further. Ms. McNeil, will that be okay? Okay, great. Assistant Superintendent Purvis will be in contact. Dr. Katurba.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, Superintendent Clark. My name is Ann Katurba, and I have been a part of the Education Task Force for almost 3 years now, and have collected, as you all know, and get tired of me coming to this podium to talk about it. I do appreciate data. I know how it can be manipulated, and I try to be very careful to be very precise about what is said. To just address, I know we've been throwing around numbers. To be clear, what Mrs. Certain said was that on most every level that you look at, no matter what it is, end of course tests, FSA, whatever, white students outperform the state average on almost anything you look at. For black students, it's the opposite. Our black students here underperform black students on average in the state compared to state averages. Dr. Paulson is absolutely correct by saying the black student achievement is not the worst in the state. However, we are in the 18th percentile for math and approximately the lowest quartile for English. And then there are two other things that are looked at. So we are low. I mean, I don't think we need to argue that, and I don't need to be bashing anybody about it. These are systemic problems that have been here for a long time. I think we should be talking, however, rather than squabbling, about why that is. Why is our county, why is black student achievement here lower than the state average? Why is that? Why, if you look at white students in different counties, exactly, where our white students are performing just as well as them, we are by far the lowest in terms of black student performance, by 14 percentage points in math on average, and 11 percentage points in English. And to me, I don't want to blame anybody. I just want to talk about it and say, why is that? Okay? I mean, there's no blame here. Anyhow, addressing graduation rates. I don't know if you've all read this. It's too long for 3 minutes. Building a Grad Nation, I just want to read something from it. It was done by Johns Hopkins. It just came out. Annual update. What they said about the adjusted four-year cohort group was that there is still room for improvement that would guarantee the best data is available. There remain discrepancies in how states remove students from their cohort counts, what is considered a regular diploma, how transfer students are taking into account, and that include private education, home education, transfers out of cohort, how certain subgroups with students with disabilities, blah, 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 are identified within the cohort. It also said schools and districts should ensure that more students, especially those from traditionally underserved populations, earn a diploma that ensures they are college and career ready. Ensuring high school diploma requirements are aligned with college and career ready standards can help ensure more students are on track to graduate. We don't talk about college and career readiness. We should. For anybody who is interested, I do know about graduation rates. This is a snapshot of our county since 2010 and 11. It's complicated. Can I give it to you all for distribution?
If you give it to Ms. Ramos, please.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Turban. Okay, how are we doing on time, Mr. Moore? Okay. We'll move ahead to the consent agenda. Superintendent Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I recommend that the school board approve the consent agenda as described in items 1 through 5 and 7 through 10.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson. Any discussion?
Yes. My light on. I should have said maybe this at the adoption of the agenda, but on the consent agenda, BL, regarding the substitute contract with Kelly Services, really needs an explanation, because we have heard about it individually, at least I heard about it from Mr. Purvis, but I would like to pull that for discussion and an explanation from Mr. Purvis, please. Can we do that? I think so, it can be done.
So we'll, so that is going to, if it's being pulled, that's going to become action item 6.
Okay.
Because if it's, anything other than a brief, you want more than a brief, or can you?
Well, none of us have seen the contract, and so I think that we need to know what's in the contract and why it's for 3 years and not 1 year, and whether our substitutes can, be part of it. Those are the kind of questions I would like.
Okay, so what I need to do then, we have a motion and a second for the consent agenda. I need to entertain a motion to amend the consent agenda to move, what number is that?
BL, attachment B, item L.
Okay, where is that in the consent agenda?
It's
What-
number
what-
3,
What,
3.
okay, so,
It's item 3.
Mr. Delaney, is the path of least resistance just to pull all of 3?
Yes,
Okay, that's what we'll do.
and then it'll drop down as an action item.
So, what we're gonna do, I need to entertain a motion to,
Mr. Chair, we can just
we can just do it.
do it as long as everybody's clear on what on the consent agenda that we're voting.
Okay, great. So consent 3 becomes action 6. So that means we are now voting, and the reason, we're now voting on 1 and 2. 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Those are the things that are now in the consent agenda. And we have enough of a motion and a second, is that true? We're good. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. All right, opposed? It passes, 5-0. Now on to action item number 1, Mr. Purvis.
The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the renewal of the property and casualty insurance program with the Florida School Board's Insurance Trust for the 2019-2020 school year as presented.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
Second.
Motion by Dr. Paulson, seconded by Ms. Roy. Ms. Roy, you had discussion?
No.
Any discussion on item 1? Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item number 2, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is second reading for amended administrative job descriptions. The superintendent recommends that the school board approve the proposed amended administrative job descriptions for Director, Instructional Technology, Media and Materials, Analyst, System Project Leader, Chief Accountant, Manager, Physical Distribution, and Chief Technology Officer, Officer Chief Technology and Information Services as presented.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
Somebody.
Is that a motion?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I
Okay.
stuttered there.
Do I have a second? Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Ms. Surton. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Action item 3, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and consistent with first reading, I'm going to do these one at a time. I think. So the first one is the superintendent recommends that the board approve the proposed new administrative job description, Fleet Manager, as presented.
Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
We're taking these individually?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
I missed that.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Ms. Surton. Now, I do have, Mr. Knight, is this the area that you wanted to speak to, or which item was it? This is it? So it's your turn. Go ahead.
My name's Eddie Knight. I'm with the Bus Garage. I've been with FRS for 33 years. I'm a mechanic. One of the issues we wanted to add, or try to add, was for the reorganization, was that the 3 lead mechanics could actually be included in this, so that in order for us to move up to be reclassified, we would not be on the same pay grade. And that's one of the things, because we cannot move up to be reclassified to the same pay grade that they're in. They're in 1 pay grade ahead of us.
Okay.
As far as the reorganization goes.
Okay, so,
So the union cannot really represent, I'm the union rep, and I can't represent the leads because they're not ESPs. And so whenever I put in for the reclassification, it can only just go to, just for us, the mechanics.
okay. Any further comment?
No, that's it.
Because we're going to, okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Moore.
I mean, I can respond to that I think that's something we'll have to work out at the bargaining table, because that's an issue of PTs and ESPs, and it's not really, this is an administrative position, so.
Okay, do I have any, Dr. McNeely?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know how to respond, since we're taking each one by one of the positions for the new jobs, the fleet manager, the transportation area, transportation operations, the analyst, fleet coordinator, route trainer, all of them. So I hate to have to say the same thing when we get to each one. So I guess I will look at the attorney to see how can I get my comments over. Some of the things that I'd like to state have to do with our citizen an employee of Alachua County Transportation that he just stated, but it also applies to all of the other positions that are up in this second reading and that we have to vote on. So should I say it at each juncture or one time? Help me with that.
Sure, that's really up to your discretion, how you would prefer to do it, whatever you think gets your message across best.
Okay, I'll do it each time. Thank you so much.
And
That's not required, but that's certainly your right to do that.
and not specifically at all to Dr. McNeely, but just procedurally, for each of these, we have public input opportunity, and then that's ended, and then we have board member discussion. So that's the order that we will do it.
So do you want me to wait?
Oh, no, ma'am, if you wanted to comment now, I was doing that mainly for the folks in the audience.
Okay, so let me start by saying, with the new and amended administrative and professional technical job descriptions, I'm very disappointed because I thought in the reorganization plan, and the superintendent was trying to share with me as of today what's going on, but the reclassification for the garage mechanics should be in this document somewhere because they are most important, as well as the dispatchers in our transportation department. I think when we look at the reorganization with all of the heavy administrators or administrative positions that we are asking to be put in, it's very strange to me that when we look at what building administrators have to deal with, it's tons of people that they are administrating. But when we look at the transportation department, I would think that we would have at least 30, maybe that's the maximum, of employees that they are going to have administration over. Number one, there are many things that I feel, looking at the job descriptions, that some of the people that we already have in place could be under that, how would I say it? They could do those jobs instead of having to admin and add new people in as administrators. One of the things I've hopped on forever is the compensation that our employees are getting, instructional as well as non-instructional. And when I look at some of the positions that the gentlemen who are here tonight represent and all that they do, one stating I have no idea how many years of service the other four have done, but 33 years is nothing to sneeze at. And I know for a fact that when we bring new people in, some of the current folk have to be the ones to train the new people. If they're so good at training the new people, then certainly they could hold those positions. Let me say this to the public. Some of the things that I found out, and there are many more than I have, I only have 4, but some of the positions that the gentlemen who are here tonight in the blue, they have to be responsible for high-risk things in the department, such as just pulling a large, can you imagine pulling a large yellow bus back and all of the risk that that takes in getting the disabled bus back to the compound? We've lost 5 people to death because of accidents. And if that is not correct, I'd like someone to correct me on that. Not only is that a high-risk position in having to tow those buses back to the compound, but now that we have brand-new buses, and I think we just probably purchased 18, maybe not that many, but the director can certainly correct me on that, but they're all propane. And if any of you barbecue at home with propane tanks, you know how dangerous that is. No, I see the Assistant Superintendent shaking his head. Well, maybe it's not that way, but to me, a propane bus is much more dangerous than what we currently are accustomed to with gas. I'm a female, so I might be wrong in that. 27 different computer programs that the employees are now I know I'm not wrong on that one, having to maneuver and work with on these jobs. Reclassification, and I spoke to the superintendent and she straightened me out. What is the difference? Reclassification compensation committee has nothing to do with collective bargaining. Well, all right, so the point I'm trying to make, she said that it had been denied 18 months ago. So many times, this has come to the board or come up for consideration. And for some reason, it does not get through. And I'm just wondering why, when we depend on, I don't know if there's a female in this group, but we depend on these men to do everything in their power to get these buses up and running. And because you say that these positions that we want in the reorganization plan, because they're administrators, then that money would have to be increased. Some people are already at the top where they can't get any more money maybe. So these people are in jeopardy, and anyone else who might be in the garage. When we had another superintendent here before Superintendent Clark came on board and interim Superintendent Hollinger, we were taken on a tour. There were 3 of us that's on this board at that time. I don't think you were, Mr. Chair.
4 of us.
Were you on that tour? 4 of us went on that tour, and to see the working conditions that those people, that those employees, I don't want to say those people, because they are our employees and they are certainly dear to my heart, with where they work, how they have to work in close proximity. And I know that eventually we want to do better with that. But until we do, we need to reclassify these employees and let it be known that they are important, they are valuable, and that they can do some of the work that we are orchestrating here to get new positions. I don't agree with it. I think I said that at the last time when we had the first hearing, the first reading of the job description. My opinion has not changed. Job duties would change when we look at the new positions, but when we carefully look at how jobs change, we could see that many of the folk who are seated before us have done so much already in the garage that this position, I am sure they could handle that. They are going, as I stated earlier, they are going to have to handle it in training. Why not with the position? One of the things that I heard tonight, that we have been in the same recession. Well, let's not leave out the people who are before us tonight. They too are in the same recession that we have all been through, and they deserve. No one can say, I would hate for us to say, yes, you deserve it, but we don't have the funds. We do everything that we need to do when it comes to salaries, compensations. We do it, and we try our best. But why are these gentlemen, these employees who do so much for the transportation department, that they cannot be heard? And why is it 18 months before that this came up from the reclassification committee. We should not have had this length of time. And I know we were waiting on a new director. The new director is here, and the director right under the new director, that person who helps administrate in transportation. But we must not continue. We must not continue to eliminate what we know is right and what can be done for these employees. I will say the same thing when we move to the next position, since it's been clarified that maybe I should, if I want to, say something when it comes to transportation area. One of the things that I noticed in the job description, and I saw it in mine, that all of the positions should be considered for CDL. I would hope that that is not eliminated if the board should vote against what I'm stating tonight and go with the positions A through F. They need to understand how to drive and move a bus as well. I know our director is learning how to go through his training. I think that there should not be a hire without consideration of them having their CDLs. I don't know what else I can say other than the duties that will change significantly, therefore it should be justification for a high priority reason for outlining the reclassification for the gentlemen and women who are in the garage.
Superintendent Clark.
Just as a point of clarification, because it was brought up, the entire reclassification process is part of the collective bargaining agreement. So the attorneys can correct me if I'm wrong, that's not necessarily appropriate for the board to vote or approve on right here, because it does go through that process. Yes, that request was denied in February, almost 18 months ago. From the standpoint is that the assistant superintendent had come and was working on a reorganization plan. So it was not appropriate at that time to reclassify one group of employees when we were looking at what you were doing with the entire department. So that process has started for the reclassification to bring it forward to the committee at this time. And then that committee, which is made up of school district employees and union employees, would then bring that recommendation to the superintendent. And that could be anything from reclassification and changing the pay grade based on the points, or anything up to that point, potentially a raise within pay grade or reclassifying that. So it's not a matter of not feeling that folks are deserving or that it's been too long. The issue becomes, as part of the collective bargaining agreement, this is the process that we're required to follow. So we're moving forward in that direction. And once the compensation committee meets and makes that determination, then it comes to me for me to sign off on.
Of course. Dr. Paulson.
You know, I used to deal with this stuff. We're bordering on an unfair labor practice, aren't we, Mr. Moore? We can't be doing this.
That was one of the reasons why I did not respond to the...
It's against the law what we're doing.
Yes, the Transportation Department is represented by the ACEA, and their job, salary, and work conditions and all that is something that we bargain annually with the union. And so it needs to be through that process.
And, you know, I'm not against you guys getting a raise. I'm just, you know, we can't just have laws and just break them like it's nothing. I mean, I've been doing this for 20-something years. I've never seen anything like this. This is unbelievable.
You know what?
No,
Mr.
excuse
Chair,
me.
Excuse me.
I'm going to speak
Yeah, of
tonight,
course.
not against what Dr. Paulson is saying, not at all. I'm not asking for a vote. I'm asking for consideration when this comes
We
up.
shouldn't be involved in it.
Well,
Oh, well,
That's what we have laws.
if I could have everyone address comments to the chair. And Dr. McNeely, your light is on. Did you have something further, or are we going to move ahead?
we're going to move ahead to the next area, and because of the colleagues saying it is against the law, I'm going to state it differently, that I think that we should have consideration, not to ask for a vote, but for the mere fact it needs to come out in the public what's not happening for some of our employees. We talk all the time about teacher salaries, non-instructional salaries. But I guess that's within the boundaries of the law.
I think
Is it not?
my understanding was that that was addressed by the superintendent. Mr. Delaney?
I wasn't clear on where we were headed next on the agenda. I believe that we're still looking at 3A. We need
Oh,
to-
we're still on 3A, yes.
And before we move on to B, we probably need to go ahead and take our vote when
Oh,
the
yeah.
discussion is over.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Roy?
Just to make one thing clear, in my mind anyway, there are two issues here. The appreciation for the gentlemen that are sitting here. We do appreciate you. We know what a difficult job you have. And honestly, I hope you believe us. The other issue is the right of the director to reorganize the department in the way that he sees is the best thing for the district as a whole. So, you know, never the twain shall meet. It doesn't have anything to do with each other. If we were to vote to uphold the reorganization of the board, of the transportation department, does not mean that we have any less appreciation for the job that you do. And I just wanted to have that out there. We do not have, as board members, the right to tell any director, any principal, any department chair what they have to do, in terms of managing their department. Because just like the principal is responsible for the school's scores, the director is responsible for the success of the district, and he has to call it as he sees it, having been here a year and observed the whole department and how it's working together. So that's all I'm saying. I hope that it isn't presented as a vote against the gentleman sitting here if we support the director, because that is our job, to support.
Superintendent Clark? Okay, Dr. Paulson?
Thank you.
This thing's got confusing. We mentioned salaries and teacher salaries and your salaries. Mr. Delaney, we're not allowed to talk about things like that outside of the executive session, are we?
I'd want to clarify that Florida law requires public entities like this that have a union that we do our negotiations through that process, through the collective bargaining process. Mr. Moore sits on that bargaining team. I'd welcome his input if he wanted to add anything to that.
But there's no way we can sit here and tell you how we talk once we're behind closed doors. That's what's bothering me here. And we can't, right?
Correct. And the other issue is that
And we're getting close to doing
addressing
that.
individuals within a bargaining unit is also something, we don't want to be accused of splintering
Sure,
the
right.
union, that we deal with them collectively and as a whole at the table through a process. And so that would be my concern there. And there are things that, were brought up that we can talk about. We can straighten things out, and then depending on how the vote goes tonight, who knows what we'll be talking about. But that's something that comes up at the table so we can figure all those things out.
Okay. Thank you very much. Seeing no other lights on, all in favor, if we're voting on the reorganization, 3A, manager fleet. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Moore?
The superintendent recommends that the board approve the proposed new administrative job description, manager, transportation area, as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson. Any discussion? Dr. McNeely?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I certainly don't want to be considered or put in the Gainesville Sun tomorrow that I broke any bargaining law, so I have to couch my words in how to say it again. I like the fact that Mrs. Roy has tried to state to the gentleman here how much we appreciate their work, and that is the case. But I cannot mention money at this time. All I'm saying is that I think that they deserve to be considered in the reclassification, and I am so happy that Mrs. Clark stipulated that that will occur when the reclassification committee reconvenes. That's all we have to go on. That's all we can trust. And I'm hoping that the reclassification committee will work on your behalf. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further comment? Okay, all in favor of action item 3, letter B, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, I need to clarify.
I meant- I
Oh,
should
no,
say
you're good. No, you're good. I just did, okay, thank you. So the motion passes 3-2. In the affirmative, Dr. Paulson, Ms. Roy, and the chair voting no would be Ms. Surton and Dr. McNeely. Okay, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Superintendent recommends that the board approve the following proposed amended administrative job description, manager, transportation operations, as presented.
I have a motion to
So
that.
moved, Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second? Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson. Any discussion? Ms. Surton.
I did not make a comment earlier, but I had asked at the first reading of these that they be separated so that I could voice my dissent on adding this additional layer of management in the transportation department. I think for the reason of the cost of it and the existing employees that were there, I just felt like something else could be done, or to use the existing employees that were there instead of adding on another layer of management. That was my concern when this came up, I guess, about 2 weeks ago, and I just wanted to put that on record again.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Surton. And we are, Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at the job description for transportation. We are on transportation operations. And when I look at the job goal, the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the performance responsibilities that the individual will have to be in charge of or do, again, there is no reason that we need another layer of administrators or when we have competent folk in our department, from the dispatchers to the route coordinators to the individuals who are in the garage, that they would certainly be able to handle the responsibilities that are outlined for the job description.
Okay, thank you. Any further comment?
Yeah, what's your suggestion that we do? Mrs., can I ask that? Can I
Well,
ask you?
you can ask,
Okay, could you ask our esteemed colleague what would she suggest?
now, let's,
Is that allowed? I cannot.
yeah, let's, I'd rather not have discussion, but Mr. Delaney, guide me on this, please.
Sure, don't give me a promotion that I haven't earned, so I'm not a doctor.
No.
But,
But you, okay. JD,
yes, sir. There's some discretion that the chair has in how the chair would wish to operate the meetings. It is accepted practice of Robert's Rules of Orders that all comments should be directed, or questions should be directed to the chair.
okay.
To your discretion on how you would like to handle questions between members and so forth.
Okay. Dr. Paulson, I'd like to move ahead, if that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Okay. All in favor of, I'm sorry, any further discussion? All in favor of 3, letter C, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, a motion passes 3-2. Voting in favor, Ms. Roy, Dr. Paulson, and the chair. Voting no, Dr. McNeely and Ms. Surton. Thank you. Ms. Moore, Mr. Moore. It's getting to be a long night. Mr. Moore.
I feel like I'm only halfway done. I am. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the following proposed new professional technical job description, fleet analyst, as presented.
Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair.
Do I have a second? Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson. Any discussion? Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I look over the knowledge, skills, and abilities, the job goal, the performance responsibilities as fleet analyst, wow, I thought we basically already had that position because of the people that I know who work for the Department of Transportation. If you carefully look at every single item, number 1 through number 35, you would almost have to agree with me that the people that are employed with the Department of Alachua County School Board Transportation, they can certainly handle what is outlined in this job description, new position as fleet analyst. Wow.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor of action item 3, letter D, please say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 4-1. Ms. Surton, Dr. Paulson, Ms. Roy, and the chair voted aye, and Dr. McNeely voted no. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the proposed amended professional technical job description, route coordinator, as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Anyone with a second? Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Ms. Surton. Any discussion? All, Ms. Surton.
I'll just add that the coordinator, route coordinator, when this was presented, the plan was presented to the board in the transportation reorganization meeting we had with the management of the department. I was in favor of the route coordinator sort of being reclassified to a position to handle that transportation area manager slot instead of us in just reclassifying that position versus adding a whole nother layer of management that, so I understand the reclassification here to get the pay grades aligned and all of that, but I just think something else could have been done in looking down the road, and so we don't get into a situation where we're saying, oh, financially, it's a strain on the department because we've added a whole nother layer of management with those 2 management positions. I think the coordinator positions, it seems like from the input we got back from those employees that came to the board meeting as well as the questions I asked when I met with the management staff that the route coordinators could have been reclassified to handle the additional duties.
Thank you, Ms. Surton. Any further comments? All in favor of item 3, letter E, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the proposed amended professional technical job description, driver trainer, as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Ms. Roy, second. Do I have second, Ms. Surton? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now we're going to action item 4. Let me scroll back here. Yeah. And that would, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The superintendent recommends that the board approve the renewal agreement for consultant services with the Kenya, which I think I mispronounced. Rutledge Ascenia, thank you. Rutledge Ascenia, PA, as presented.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Roy, seconded by Dr. Paulson. Ms. Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since I brought this up for a separate discussion, I was just kind of appalled that we are going to hire these consultants, which, you know, I heard what Dr. Paulson said about their instruction to the legislative
Are
committee.
they the same people?
I don't know.
I don't believe
No,
Aren't they the same people?
Let's not
I'm
have a
sorry.
discussion back and
I
forth.
should not have done that.
Okay.
Okay, well, aside from that, when I looked at the attachment and the performance criteria, this Rutledge Ascena, they don't do most of this. And I've been here for a long time. Do they assist the board in obtaining priority items on the legislative recommendation to the Commissioner of Education and the Governor? Why do we always fail if that's what they do? I don't get it. And number B, meet with board members and facilitate their contacts with legislators, Department of Education staff, Governor's office, and members of the State Board of Education. Never, never. I mean, in 15 years, we always fight for appointments with the legislators. We're on our own to call them and beg them and wait and wait and wait until they can see us. No, they don't do this. I'd like to know what other things, some of them I couldn't answer, such as whether they maintain frequent and regular contact with the Alachua County School District administrative staff, and whether they do that and work with the Alachua County School District Finance Officer and Superintendent to determine impact and strategy of influencing legislative proposals. They do that?
Yeah.
Okay, they do that, but they don't do a lot of other things. They do send us the newsie, but I don't know that I actually need that because it's coming from other places. But I just don't think that, I think these people are on the same wavelength as the governor and the Board of Education and the Commissioner of Education. And they don't really represent our interests. And I would like to know in whether which of these they do, because I know several that they don't do, many that they don't do. So I would like to know before we vote on this.
The superintendent clerk, would you like to address that, please?
Sure, I'll address some of it, and I'll have Mr. Rella address some of that too, because he actually has other dealings with him outside of mine. I'm in pretty regular communication with them as they serve as our lobbyists as well as other districts. So they do work with us obviously a little more regularly during the session. We converse with them at least weekly during session, if not more regularly. They update us on the progress of bills, where they are in the process. get our feedback and input. When you all develop your legislative priorities for FSBA and what our board's priorities are, we then share those with them as they work to develop those policies and what they're going to lobby for. But as public education is the way it is, I don't know that, yes, they're lobbying for us, but how successful they are in certain things may or not meet our definition of success. However, Alex can speak more to the finance side of things because they were very, very vocal and active in what was recommended for the additional student funding this year. I know Alex can address that.
Really, the relevance, of course, I look at it in the financial lens. They serve kind of as a liaison between our delegation, the legislature as a whole, and then the different committees that go on through the year. And a lot of people don't realize, they're already starting FT and revenue estimating conferences. They keep us up to speed on that, so we know as we go through this budget, and this is information that I regularly relay to the board, what does the financial outlook look like, not just this year, next year, but years in the future. So they really do a great job and serve as a valuable resource for me and my staff to be able to have more of a forward-looking estimations on general revenue at the state level, economic conditions, et cetera. Another function that they serve for us is during legislative session, we conduct weekly conference calls where we have certain staff members that will listen in. We get, kind of the inside scoop since we can't physically be in the Capitol during the 60-day session. We really have to have boots on the ground that can relate to us on sometimes a minute-to-minute basis, especially as we went down the stretch this session when things were changing. We were getting emails 11 o'clock at night telling us what's going on. In addition to that, they also ask for advice from us because although they have years and years of financial experience, they want to know, as there are representatives, what our opinion is on certain subjects. So we kind of collect those on a conference call. We'll disseminate them to appropriate staff, whether it's staff attorney, HR, finance. We get our collective input as a district staff and superintendent, relay that back to them. And that's something that goes on primarily during a legislative session where we're getting input, and they're taking that input not just from us, but from other districts they serve. And that's how they're lobbying for us.
And Mr. Chair, if I could just add one more part. Bringing up what Dr. Paulson had mentioned earlier about some concerns with statewide organizations maybe not being able to represent a particular viewpoint because for every school board member who leans one way, there might be one that leans another. This firm is hired specifically by us to represent us, or by you to represent you, I should say. And so when you pass the Alachua County legislative priorities, that is given to them. When they are speaking on our behalf, that is what they are representing. And I had another point, and I've completely forgotten it, so I will be quiet.
Ms. Roy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for this input from everyone. I just know that some of the things on here they do not do that I have had experience with.
That was the other, I'm sorry to interrupt. Some of that may be on us, that when you have your legislative days, maybe we should be contacting them and putting you in contact with them when you're up there. But that's something we can do in the year ahead
Okay.
to certainly
All right.
help you meet them. I mean, they are representing
And
your interests.
I don't know that any of our district staff has testified on issues before the legislature, have we? I mean, the thing is, I hear what you all are saying, and I will vote for it. But I just wonder how much they are pushing our agenda when we always lose. We just never get ahead with this legislature,
Well,
and we're paying, but I agree.
We have provided written statements. I don't think anyone has gone up to Tallahassee to testify specifically to an education committee in the recent years. In larger districts, they hired their own person to be a
Right.
legislative analyst. We're
Right.
probably not big enough to do that, which is why we're coming up with basically a .2 position here.
What I'd like to do is, I think I have some of the same concerns as Ms. Roy, and I've discussed these already with the superintendent, but, you know, I really appreciate Mr. Ellis sharing with us. And when we're planning a budget, and we need to know what the trends are, and, you know, so we're not stuck in sand when we need to be going, we need that information. So I think what I would like to do for the coming year, maybe this should be a board member request, is maybe keep an eye on what our options are. Maybe keep a closer eye on and what they're doing for us, and as Mr. Moore said, maybe a little bit of that's on us. We can ask them to be more involved in that, and maybe consider what alternatives, you know, maybe we'd want to go to a full-time rep, but that's, you know, I'd like, with the positive comments of the superintendent and the assistant superintendent, I'd like to go, I'm going to be in favor of this year. Have any, okay, Mr. Delaney.
I was going to request a brief recess on behalf of Board Member Certain before we took this to a vote. Just going to be right back.
We'll have a very brief recess. Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and resume the meeting at this time. And do I have any further discussion on action item 4? Dr. Paulson, did you have? Okay. Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Mr. Delaney.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So annually, the board members fill out their evaluation of the superintendent. That's done individually, as if you've been doing your homework these last couple weeks. And we all understand that the board members individually outside the sunshine cannot act for official purposes of the work of the school district. So we're here tonight in the sunshine with the board members having completed their evaluations. And I'm going to ask the board to vote not to necessarily agree with the evaluations of the fellow board members, but to acknowledge that, yes, this is the collective evaluation of the superintendent overall based on the individual work that we did. Did any board member have any questions about what we're doing next?
Well, I have a question. Is the do the evaluations speak for themselves? Are they, or do we need to have discussion?
We absolutely can.
Okay.
And the work that's done outside the meeting, the homework, isn't the official work of the board until it's adopted by the board collectively tonight. So what I was going to do next, with the permission of the chair, was to run through what the individual board members how they evaluated the superintendent, and then I would turn it back over to you to inquire whether there's any discussion, and then have a vote on adopting the work that was done.
Okay, and I will say for the public, not only are these adopted, but you can go to the website or go, and I guess it would be on our actual agenda items, or I'm not sure where that comes, but Rose, where does that come on the website? Okay, yes. So you can see what each board member wrote and what ratings were given by each board member. So, Mr. Delaney.
But overall, Ms. Certain evaluated the superintendent as needs improvement. The chair evaluated as highly effective. Dr. McDeely evaluated as needs improvement plus. Dr. Paulson evaluated the superintendent as highly effective, and Ms. Roy evaluated the superintendent as highly effective. So I think at this point, what we were looking for after we have any discussion that's interested, is the board collectively adopting this as the evaluation of the superintendent for the 2018-2019.
So should we have discussion prior to the motion, or should we have the motion first?
Let's go ahead and have the motion and then discussion and the vote.
Okay, again, reminder, this is a motion not to agree or disagree with anything written. It's simply the board accepting in the sunshine that this is the evaluation by individual board members as presented to the public. So do I have a motion somewhat to that effect? Motion by Dr. McNeely, seconded by Ms. Roy. Do I have any discussion? Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Inasmuch that Mrs. Ramos is going to place the superintendent's evaluation based on each of our opinion, I wanted to clarify and to let the public know that I did have discussion with the board attorney today. And one of the things I wish that we would consider for next year, and he and I went back and forth about it, and I think I ended up agreeing with Attorney Delaney. But I really wish, because when you look at what I said, especially at the overall, I said needs improvement plus, because I think that Mrs. Clark has done some great things with the initiatives, with the goals. However, when we look at, for instance, on D and F schools that we were rating the superintendent on eliminating, and because we don't have 2018-19 data, and we were using 17 and 18, we still had 5 D schools that we are dealing with. And we are seeing that one of the objectives, one of our strategic plan objectives, to eliminate both areas, the D and the F. And even though there were goals and strides made, I felt we had not reached that pinnacle with eliminating the D schools. And we've talked enough about that earlier in this meeting tonight. But the plus, the reason I put plus, and I will say this again in private to the superintendent so she clearly understands my rationale, is because some things might have been met a little bit, but yet I might have put a needs improvement. We only have 4 ratings: highly effective, effective, needs improvement, and unsatisfactory. So when you look at those 4 areas, you don't have, so I was trying to say, if you were remembering when you got your grades in school, and if you got a B or a C, but yet your ratings were a little higher and your teacher might have given you a C+, that's what I was saying when you see the plus on my evaluation. So it still needs improvement, but it's not just needs improvement. It's a plus behind it. So I hope the public will understand that and understand what I was trying to gather. I just think that we need to have some other type ratings for next year when we are looking at overall. It is very clear when you look at each goal and what the individual board member states. But when you look at the overall, because you're not only looking at the goal 1 through 5, but you're looking at the other things that you observed with the superintendent as well. So it's very difficult, and I really had problems with that, and that's why I called the board member attorney today to help clarify and to help him to understand where I was coming from. We appreciate Karen Clark. I was trying to think of her middle name and say the whole thing, but Karen Clark, we appreciate the work, but there are areas that I feel, I'm speaking for Leonetta Cosby McNeely, that there must be some improvement in some of our areas. And personally, when you read and mine is very short, so it's easy reading, but I am sincere in what I stated and why. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Paulson.
Dr. McNeely, I don't have anything on yours. Does anybody have, it has your name, and then the last page has your signature, and nothing else in between.
I can clarify that. There's a typewritten description of the overall evaluation. I think it's on the next to last page. I saw that the box was not checked, but I think it's written in there.
I think we got lost. Oh, I see it.
Where?
Here it is, right here.
That's it?
Okay,
Is Dr. Paulson saying he didn't get any of that?
Well, it just says 2 + 3, and it needs improvement, and then nothing else. Okay, here. All right, you got something here.
okay. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, Ms. Surton.
I did. I actually also reached out to the attorney a couple of weeks ago when this first topic came up. And at issue that I have is a lot of the goals, we don't have data to do an adequate evaluation, and I felt I was in a, how you put, like a dead zone, where I either could, there was the option, it said in the form here, which kind of threw me for a loop, that we could evaluate based on initiatives and strategies, and if we think those are good things, or we could use my discussion with Attorney Delaney, I could use prior year data. So Superintendent Clark, that's what I decided to do, was to use prior year data. I think it, in good conscience, I just couldn't, as a professional, evaluate you based on a strategy and not know the outcomes of the strategy, because I think that's a different standard from what other staff is held to. I don't think they get evaluated solely on a strategy. So I just couldn't position at the level that you work at, or that you're classified. I thought it prudent that we try to make it as concrete and based on outcomes as I possibly could. That was my stance, and I noted that in there. If you read, you can read what I put in the evaluation. But it's a hard thing to do something, a document that, for me, that becomes very public, and it's kind of reserved into perpetuity for all to read. Didn't go about it in a vindictive nature. It's just I tried to look at, these goals were set before I came on board, so I was also in a lurch in that I'm evaluating on something that I really had no input into. So that's the stance that I took, and I think it's pretty clear. We can discuss further if you have any other questions when I meet with you the next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Surton. Dr. Paulson.
No, it's all right.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second for the board to accept the reports, the evaluations for the public record. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Next, we're going to our item 6, which is actually used to be 3. So, Mr. Hackett, I know you appreciate being around this long, and I hope there wasn't anything good on Jeopardy tonight, but I think it's a teen tournament coming up.
Do you want me to read the item as an action item?
Yes, or just, well,
I think Ms. Roy had some questions.
yeah, well, Okay, why don't I just do the part of the
superintendent
Okay.
recommends that the board approve consent agenda item number 3, which has been moved to action item number 6, the bids and requisitions in attachment B, as
Okay.
presented.
Okay, do I have a motion to that effect?
No, so moved.
Okay, okay, Dr. Paulson's motion, do you want to make that a second, Ms. Roy?
Second.
Second, Ms. Roy. I know Ms. Roy has some questions, so thank you for,
I'm sorry to have kept you the whole meeting here. But, this is for the bid on temporary staffing services with Kelly Educational Staffing. We did discuss this quite at length in executive session, but we did not see the contract, and I was kind of shocked to know it was for 3 years. I know there's an explanation for that. And also, I've had a number of questions from people that sub for us, and, it's part of their jobs. I mean, they may be retired, but they're counting on being able to sub to supplement their income. And they don't know whether they can continue to sub. And so just some questions about those kinds of things is all I was requesting
So I
for
can-
all of us.
So in terms of the contract term, I looked at between 7 and 10 other district contracts around the state. I was looking at the term of those contracts, and they averaged about 3 years. Some were longer, some were a little bit shorter. All of the contracts, just as the purchasing department's contracts do, have a termination for convenience clause. So if things aren't working out between the contractor and the district, either party can give 90 days' notice to terminate. So this is not something that would necessarily go on forever
Okay.
if either party was not happy with the arrangement.
That's
In
good.
terms of the other subs, I was going to look to Mr. Purvis about that.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Chair, board members, so I want to answer the questions about the other parts. We haven't formally started the transition process, obviously. We were waiting for board approval. We have been in conversation with Kelly Services about the data they would need to specifically answer your question about our current substitutes. Yes, we're going to transition the list of our current substitute to Kelly Services contingent of board approval. We're going to go through a big communication, letters, emails. Kelly Services is going to try to contact them. We're going to reach out, and we are going to offer them the opportunity to go to Kelly Services, attend their orientation, which be an expedited process for our current subs that we have, because they've already been background checked and fingerprinted. And then they will be employed through Kelly Services. So yes, they have that same opportunity.
And Mr. Chair, may I ask about the salary for subs?
Sure. I believe we can, I think we can do that. Go ahead, Ms. Roy.
Well, and thank you for that explanation, and that's good, that's good. I'm happy to know they don't have to go through all the hoops that normally you would have to go through. But I'm wondering about their salaries, how will their salaries be affected? Or
Yes, ma'am.
how it's the same?
Mr. Rella can speak, but I know that they will get paid the board-adopted substitute amount per hour that we have approved for the salary package that was just negotiated.
That's good. Thank you, sir.
Dr. Paulson.
I just want to be clear, and I said it before, but the principal can still take some of these substitutes that have been doing this at long-range times at the schools, and they've been available. They're favorite subs.
Yes, sir. Preferred substitutes will still be at the school-based, provided they go through the Kelly Services.
Right.
And they will still be preferred subs at school locations. In addition, if there are issues with subs, we reserve the right to obviously remove subs from that, just like we currently have.
Okay, so I know we're getting phone calls. That's why.
Right, yes, sir. No, that's fine. Long-term substitutes, not the day.
I shouldn't have said long-term.
Okay, yes, sir.
Ms.
Okay.
Surden.
So long-term subs are still residing with the Alachua County Public Schools. We are dealing with long-term substitutes. And we can still, based on the contract, If we have a great sub at X school and they're doing a tremendous job, and we have a position and they apply, they can come to our position during the time frame.
And the estimated contract value is this, tell me how that's computed. I know we talked about several different scenarios in executive session, would you?
Sure, so basically what they do is they essentially take over, Kelly Services would take over our entire staffing for temporary, daily, instructional, specifically subs. And so what they do is they charge a margin on top of whatever hours, based on the hourly rate determined by the board, as Kevin said. I think the markup is 28.5%. Where the savings comes in is obviously if there are employees, if they're employed for over 6 months, they have to get FRS. We also have to do the mandatory Medicare and FICA associated with it. So they would pick up those costs. In addition, they're also picking up costs for the frontline contract. So that's our front end for substitute calling. We still maintain control over the system and have administrative rights that whereas principal could go in and select a preferred sub. So we still have a lot of control over the system. And I think we took, a really deliberate attempt when we went through the process, Mr. Hackett, Wayne, and Mr. Purvis and myself, we went through and pulled a lot of bids and looked at what other districts are doing. And then we kind of took it and said, all right, well, what works for us? What do we need to add? Obviously, we wanted to make sure we were really clear on security, HR protocol, the financing terms and stuff like that, and kind of Alachua that bid. And we had a whole team that worked on that. And then we went and, when we started the discussion on who needs to be on the selection committee, we were very adamant from the very beginning that we need to have representation from the school. So we had the principal reps from elementary, middle, and high on that selection committee, so we made sure that they had their input, because I've obviously looked through a finance lens, HR, purchasing, but the school-based staff really needed to get their 2 cents in. So I think it was a really good and thorough process in terms of a bid.
Sure.
So how does this, Mr. Purvis, impact your staff since you're taking the administrative portion of onboarding, substitute recruiting and onboarding and doing that whole hiring process? We're now farming this out, so to speak, to contracting this out to Kelly Services. How is that going to impact your staffing? Is that going to entail a decrease in your staffing?
It's not going to decrease in staffing. We still have one person that's going to be the primary contact with Kelly Services. And so she's going to take on other responsibilities that we were just stacking on others. And Mr. Rella is in the same boat. He had one person assigned specifically for substitute payroll. I don't want to misspeak, Mr. Rella. And so this is going to assist us with using our staff in other areas to be able to better serve our district and what we need.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Roy.
Thank you. I should have known it would be a very thorough process and involve all the stakeholders. I appreciate that very much. And I appreciate the very, very detailed explanation of all of this. So, yeah, I think I had something else and I can't remember what it was, but I'm certainly, I know what. I wanted to just, if I may, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
Just say to the public, the reason that we went to this is that we were not able to get enough subs to cover the needs in the schools. And teachers were having to enlarge their class, split up a class among 3 or 4 teachers to take the children. And it was just a terrible situation in that the classes were unbalanced and the children didn't know, what they were doing. And it just, and the teachers were resenting it and complaining to us. So it really was a necessary step that the district had to take, and I'm sure hoping it works out, because it's been pretty bad up till the present time. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
everyone.
Dr. Paulson.
Good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Superintendent Clark.
I did just want to share, and I don't know if the 2 board members that were down in Tampa experienced the same thing, but I had one of the vendors come up to me and comment how impressed they were with our process through this RFP. from purchasing, from HR, from finance. And I've never had that happen where, the company that didn't win was so impressed with the way that we went about it, involving the principals and involving more people at the table. So I just want to publicly thank three of the members of the team are right there, Mr. Hackett, Mr. Ella, and Mr. Purvis. But to get that kind of compliment from a vendor is pretty high praise, because that doesn't generally happen very often.
They didn't want to mess with me on bid protests.
That's it. That's what they said when they came to us, I was like, please tell me this is not about a protest, but they were very complimentary, so I just want to make sure that was. in the public.
And that speaks to really the great people we have here, so thank you to everybody that was involved with this. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Okay, now it's time for citizen comment, citizen input. Citizens are requested to keep comments to approximately 3 minutes. Do we have any comments? You've got 3 minutes, yes. Okay.
I'm Ann Katurba, not talking about data. An alumnus of Buchholz High School, some of you may remember Havana Solon. I don't know if y'all follow the World Cup, but she's playing on the Jamaican team. And she just scored the first goal that Jamaica's ever scored in history at the World Cup.
Isn't that great? Makes me want to get home and watch the World Cup.
Get a kick out of that?
Okay. Now we'll move on to board member superintendent requests, and Dr. Paulson.
I'm glad I brought this out tonight, because I don't think we'd had transparency in the past about this subject. And I think that we need to be able to hear each other's viewpoints. And like I said, I think we all want the scores to be raised. I just think I've seen different studies, and I think they need to be brought out so we can do the best for our children. We can't just listen to one point of view. And I feel like that's what's been going on the last few years. And that's why I think if we get all the points of view out, we can do better things for our kids. Not just say, I know it and you don't. And that's what the feeling I've gotten from the outside people. They always they were telling people exactly how we should think. And if we weren't smart enough to read the other studies. But maybe if we see each other's point of view, we might get further.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Paulson. Dr. McNeely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dr. Paulson, thank you for reminding me that you gave us this 3 years ago.
Okay.
One of the things that we need to consider is that our achievement, especially since we have it in our strategic plan, no matter how long ago we received something, the fact of the matter is that some of the disparities and gaps in our achievement and academic performance still exist. As long as you can acknowledge that it still exists, I'm all right with you, meaning the other 4 people that sit up here with me. Now, when you start not agreeing with what's still in existence, then we do have a problem, and it's a huge problem of unity. One of the things that I'm hoping, and I had asked for this, Mr. Chair, for a couple of board meetings ago, and I understand that my absence at one of them precluded Dr. Katurba from speaking and presenting on the data that she so passionately understands with our accountability director, Director Charbonnet. I really wish that they could do something together. I know I heard that as chairman, you agreed for the 3-minute presentation. Oh, maybe not?
No,
If not, good.
If,
I heard that incorrectly. then.
well, you did hear it incorrectly. We already have Dr. Katurba on the agenda. We don't have individual citizens doing presentations. We do have organizations that sometimes present, and that is what's happening, and she's on the agenda. I don't have the date, so our July meeting, and so that's all set.
So is it a possibility then it's not going to be eliminating the 3 minutes, but we'll have more time?
That she's doing a presentation, it's not a
So-
citizen comment.
All right, very good. Is it possible that then, once that happens, that we could have a workshop after the fact, after the presentation, with our Director of Accountability?
Well, I see the superintendent getting ready to comment.
Right, I'd actually already, staff and I had discussed today of pending when scores and school grades were going to come out. I actually had it in my notes. We talked about scheduling a workshop to present. We're hoping grades by law have to be out by July 15th, so we will have them by the 23rd or 22nd, whenever our meeting is, to have Mr. Charbonnet do his presentation of the updated FSA and EOC data on the 23rd at 4:30. Now, we have budget at 5:30, and then the regular board meeting at 6, so we were going to bring that to see if that time was going to be okay, because that will probably be a long evening for everybody on the 23rd, but we,
Unlike tonight.
well,
Yeah, I
it's all
got you.
relative, right?
Okay.
But that's what we had talked about, was bringing that, because that will be recently received information. We're anticipating the scores any day, because generally it takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get the grades after the scores come out. And if the grades have to be out by the 15th, as we were walking that backwards, we figured we're at the any day now timeframe of receiving that.
And so to respond to Dr. McNeely, I think that would be, to me, very timely, because it'll be absolutely fresh information, and I think it'll be instructive for all of us. So let's plan on that.
I have a question for the superintendent on, Mr. Chair, on something that we've already voted on in consent. Can she speak to that?
We're in the sunshine, yes.
Oh, okay. And that is the issue of administrative for the 30 days.
Right, that's something that's been done for the last 5, 6 years, and it had been done at various times. Generally, we wait until those scores come out, and so for the last 5 or 6 years, administrators have been appointed to the 1-month contract, because administrators end on June 30th, so everyone will be appointed through July, and then if any changes have to be made following the release of data, then that gives us the ability to do that. And so at the July 23rd meeting, the 11 other months of the 1-year contract will be brought to the board. So we've done that the last few years. So basically, you get it at back-to-back meetings. But that allows us, if we need to make those changes when data comes out in the scores, then we have the ability to do that. So you'll see that again next month.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if I could comment, I think one of the key things is when data comes out, it's not like we put our heads together necessarily. We're told by the state, you've got to do this.
Correct.
So what we're trying to do is check all the boxes. We've got to do what the state tells us, and I think this is a smart way to bridge the gap. So that's just my opinion.
Well, I guess the reason I asked, Mr. Chair, is because even though you have your principalships, but you have other people
Right.
as well that would not fall necessarily under that category.
Right, so the ultimate, when we do that whole, that's for any administrative position comes to the board, just as it is in this one. So that involves all different types of supervisors and all across the way. So we put all administrators in the same category, whether district or school-based. They have the 1 month, and then we move on. And of course, even during that time, we've got some vacancies now, and others will happen. So there'll be hiring even going on as we speak, because there's still some vacancies out there. And so then that will all be updated come July 22nd, 23rd, whenever that meeting is.
Thank you.
Okay, any other board comments? I'll take a short time, hopefully, a couple of comments. I wanted to say some of the subjects tonight are problems that have been tough for a while. When we look at the transportation, when I was a brand-new board member, I remember difficulties for that department. And folks were asking for change. And we're moving toward change. And change is often very difficult. It's certainly my intent that the way this ends up, it's best for the district. And guess what? If it's not right for employees, it won't be right for the district. But we have to, there have been difficulties in my 4.5 years, and my understanding is it was before that. So I think when you hire an administrator, I'm talking about first hiring the superintendent needs to be able to have her team set up a plan. And so I look at that as difficult, but necessary for improvement. And the other topic is substitutes. We've all talked about the difficulty, and this isn't a new problem. This is something that we're going to still have to deal with salaries and deal with other things moving in years ahead. But here's a time where, again, through the leadership of the superintendent and with stellar work by the staff, we are moving to try to solve the difficulties of making sure these classes are covered. I think it's so much better to move forward than it is to simply say we can't change things. So I don't know. I just and really my whole point there is to say thank you to the superintendent and thank you to the staff, the assistant superintendents, the department heads, the directors, everybody who's making, who is doing this. And it is my expectation that through doing these things, it's going to work out for the best for our employees. That's my expectation. So I'll let it go at that. Dr. McNeely, did I see your light come back on?
So sorry.
That's okay. Well, with that, and for the true warriors that are here the whole time, thank you so much, appreciate it, and we are adjourned.